Good morning, it's bike review day, and if you watch my channel you know these days if it doesn't have a motor I'm not riding it, and today is no exception. So we're going to review the giant Trance E+1 Pro. Bit of a mouthful, but anyway we've got there, so anyway let's have a look. Okay, first impressions. I really like the look of this bike. I'm quite partial to a green bike. I've had a few in the past and I think this looks really nice. This one also has the Yamaha motor, and I must admit I've not ridden a bike with the Yamaha motor system, so very keen to see how this rides. Now this bike, I looked on the website this morning, is priced at $7,700 on the Giant website. There is a model above and a model below this in the Trance. And so what do you get for your $7,700? Well, you get a set of 36s up front, Fox Float 36s, 150 mils of travel, and pair that out back with a Float DPX2 rear shock, and there's 140 mils rear travel. It's got a aluminium frame, it's a 27.5 inch wheels, and we've got Shimano XT brakes front and rear of course, and we'll pair that, if we come around the other side, with a Shimano XT drivetrain 12 speed. So pretty nicely spec bike, nice looking bike. So I'm going to take it out for a spin, give you my honest review as always, and have some fun in the process hopefully. Okay, well the first thing we need to do is get it up the hill, and I guess we should just stop briefly and listen to this Yamaha motor. Actually doesn't sound too bad. It's not the quietest motor, it's not the noisiest one. During the ride, the sound of the motor didn't bother me. I guess I've been riding e-bikes for a while and I'm quite used to it. Climbed pretty well. It's pretty slippery today, but seemed to get pretty good traction, and certainly got up to the top of the hill in no time flat. Started coming back down. There is a horrible creak in the bike. I'm not quite sure what's causing that. It's not associated with pedaling, it's not associated with the seat post. It seems to be when you're going downhill. So it might just be a loose bolt somewhere or the headset, but anyway, it was quite an annoying creak going on all day. This bike is actually a medium. I normally ride a large, although I'm about 5'10". I'm sort of right on the cusp of a medium and a large, so I can ride either. Saying that, the reach on this bike is down at 442, and I think my large Levo is 455, so we're only talking 13 millimeters difference between the two bikes. They also have a very similar head angle. This is 66.5, and again the Levo is at 66. So although it took me a while, especially because it was wet, to get a feel for this bike, after a while, as the day went on, I really did get more and more comfortable with the bike. As for value for money, it's pretty good value for money, this bike. It comes with some pretty good spec. It's got some XT brakes, which I like, XT drivetrain, a 12-speed drivetrain, and Fox fork and shock. So pretty well, nicely spec'd out bike for the money really, which I guess Giant is famous for that. Now I'll probably explain in a minute, but when I was filming this, initially I actually had the shock locked out, and so that probably didn't help me get the feel for it. But coming across the rock garden here, I actually did have the shock open when I filmed this bit, and I'll slow it up for you. And you can see that the old suspension just went over there no problem, nice and smooth. Now, as I say, we're talking about spec. This thing I think comes out about $7,700 on the Giant website, and I believe they've even done some specials and some better deals than that. So yeah, I reckon this is a pretty good, certainly good package for the money anyway. The bike doesn't come with a display. Some people like that, some people don't. I must admit the Shimano and the Bosch ones come with a display. I personally would quite like that on my bike, but I've got a Levo and it doesn't have one, and I guess you get used to it. Okay, I'm officially an idiot. I've been riding around thinking this bike it's okay, but it's just not quite right. And then I realized I had the rear shock locked out, opened that up, and woohoo, she's a lot more fun to ride, a lot more playful, and I feel more confident jumping it. The other thing is, of course, I think I'm going to need to wash it before I return it. It's pretty wet out there. Okay, so decided to have a bit more of a test on the climbing. It's not super steep, although it's reasonably steep. You'd struggle to ride up here on your normal bike, but it's certainly wet and slippery today. And so getting traction up something like this is quite difficult. My first attempt was a fail, so I decided to give it a second run. Alright, so we're going to give this a second go. Now, it's certainly got pretty good power delivery, the Yamaha motor. I had it in the auto mode. In fact, I'll explain that more after this little section here. I actually filmed it at the end of the video, which is why I'm pretty much out of battery. But anyway, it's probably a good opportunity to explain how the electronics work on the Yamaha motor system, because it's a little bit different to the Bosch and the Shimano. Okay, this is the giant control for the Yamaha motor. It's an auto when you've got one light there. Now if you press the up button, you can go up one level right up to the top. So you've got that, what's that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 levels. So you've got 4, 3, 2 and down to 1 level. And I guess you can turn it off altogether. If you press this button for 3 seconds, it goes on to auto. Now auto sort of gives you better power control. So if you put the power in, you'll get maximum power. You put less power and you get less power. On this side you get 5 lights here which show your battery level. We're down to 1 bar, so we've pretty much used all the battery, so time to call it a day. But not a bad little setup, this one. I quite like the usability of it, but in reality I just leave it in that auto mode all day and it seems to work the best. Okay, so I decided to give a bit of a run down the sort of jumps track here. Now, after I'd opened the shock up and also played around a little bit with the pressure in the rear shock, I really started to get a feel for this bike and really started to like it. It's a very nimble bike, easy to sort of flick around, and it's only got 150, 140 travel. But I quite like the slightly shorter travel bikes, although I guess 150 isn't exactly short travel, but it certainly jumped very nicely, and I was rapidly developing quite a bit of confidence on this bike. It's 27.5. I am a big 29er fan, but certainly the smaller wheels wouldn't put me off buying this bike, and sometimes I think on an e-bike, 27.5 wheels can be a bit more robust as well than the 29 wheels, because e-bikes, they really do take a hammering with the extra weight on them. It does have a 500 watt-hour battery, and this is one of the things that would put me off the most. I always figured if you're going out riding with a whole load of people on an e-bike, you don't want to have the smallest battery in the group. And although I wasn't out for a long time, I did get down to 1 bar on the battery. I guess that is 20%, but still, if I had a preference, I would get a bigger battery. That is the one small gripe, is that the switch on the side, it shows you 5 levels of battery, which I think actually one thing I like about the Levo, it has 10, and having 20% battery, it's hard to know when you're about to run out, because 20% is still a bit. So it'd be nice to know that you had 10% of your battery left rather than 20%. Overall, I would definitely consider buying one of these bikes. I think if I was looking at getting an e-bike, and as I say, it was certainly from value for money, I think it's a bike worth considering. As I say, the main thing that would probably put me off would be the 500 watt-hour battery, but saying that, I think probably 80% of your rides that will be plenty, and I guess you just have to sort of plan around it. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I certainly enjoyed riding the bike. A nice bike. Well, that was a really great day out on the giant Trance e-bike. Really enjoyed the ride. Initially, I thought the bike was a little bit too small, but adapted to that. And then when I opened the shock up, it was a whole new game. Really enjoyed it. Would I buy the bike? Yeah, I think I probably would. For the value for money, it's a really well-spec'd bike. Prefer a 29er, prefer a bigger battery, but overall, still a great bike. If you enjoyed the video, love it if you join the team. Click on the logo here to subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.